On my poet business card, 2 business cards, one for money and one for love. You have to decide which is which. But on my poet business card, there's a poem, appropriately enough. The poem says, I know why. I can help. I repay effort. I grow regardless. A neat little summary of my life. I do know why. I know why people do the things they do and how they can do better. I know more about this today than I knew yesterday, and I expect to know more tomorrow than I do today, but I know a whole lot as a result of the work that I've done in 2014. 2014 has been a phenomenally good year for me. A very good year for me for covering my ground. I thought 2012 was a killer year. I thought 2012 I was afraid that 2012 was as good as it was going to get. That was the best it was ever going to be. And 2014 has been way better, phenomenally better. I wrote that poem in 2014. I know why. I can help. I repay effort. I grow regardless. That third line, I repay effort. Everything I write that means anything to me means everything to me. And so if I write something that you can read more than one way, I mean it every way you can read it, including the ways that you didn't think of. I mean it those ways too. And I repay effort is beautiful for me, because what it sounds like it says is if you put effort into my work, I will repay your time, which is true. Very true. The more time you spend thinking about the things that I bring up, the better your thinking will be generally, because I think about things that nobody else thinks about. Wish this were not true. It is true, but I'd rather it weren't. I'm working to change that by infecting your mind. That's what I aim to do. So I do repay your effort. The effort that you put into thinking about the subjects I bring up will be beneficial to you. You will gain from it. But another way of reading that is that I will repay you, personally, I will repay you for the effort that you put into learning the things that I want you to learn. And that meaning is also true. So Edward Druce, who I met at the 21 convention 2 weekends ago, I've been trading mail with him and asking him really brutal, snoopy questions, because that's what you get. And he had brains enough to ask one of me. I live in this world where my outbound standards are radically different from my inbound standards. Not because I want them to be, but just because that's the way things work out. I don't hate the kind of brutal, snoopy questions that I ask. I don't hate them at all, and I'm always free with answers. I conceal nothing. You can ask me anything. If I think it's impertinent, I'll ignore you, and if I think that it's important, then I will give you way more answer than you ever wanted. So Edward quoted me back from 9 Empathies. He read 9 Empathies. God bless him. I leaned on him, and he did it. But he's quoting back from 9 Empathies, and this is me. I am reading me now. I study everyone I meet, and I yearn to understand everyone's interior motivations, even if I never intend to do anything with that knowledge. I study everyone I meet. I yearn to understand everyone's interior motivations, even if I never intend to do anything with that knowledge. It's a really good question. It's really good. He said, what accounts for this? Why is this so? That was his question. In 9 Empathies, I tell you twice that bullies study everyone. Bullies study everyone. There's Greg saying Greg studies everyone. An easy inference to draw, an incorrect inference, would be to draw the inference that I'm a bully, and I am not. Very much the contrary. I've always been the dumbass who championed the underdog, kind of the Batman fallacy, and I am the author of the Batman fallacy, so I'm not absolving myself of anything, but I understand it for having lived it from the inside. But it's an interesting question because it's brutally truthful. It is the brutal truth about myself, and I didn't conceal it. It was in the original pass through the book. I wrote that book, 9 Empathies, on a Saturday, August the 30th, I think. But I wrote it on a Saturday, and all of that, 2 mentions of bullies study everyone, and Greg admitting that he studies everyone, all of that's in the original pass through the book. I didn't add that later. And I don't know that I'm all that unusual. We will get to other things that I think are unusual, but I don't know that I'm all that unusual. I think I'm just more, I'm just busier. But here's a story from my past that may illuminate this question. I had been hired to effect a technological makeover on a business, old industrial kind of business that was looking to make the leap into the information age, and they needed somebody like me to do that. I used to have jobs. I used to work for people, and I was really good at it. And I was very much in demand for this particular type of thing, and so I took this job thinking that they were really going to let me do it and that they were really going to back me up. And so my boss that they had also hired to effect this changeover at the level up from me, they were really looking to rebuild their business from the ground up, and my boss, the guy who's in charge of my work, is asking me to tell him everything that's wrong, how to fix it. Just the perfect job for me. I can do that. I can do that job always. I can always tell you where a machine is broken. And so I did. And I did amazingly well. I did really, really well, and I really liked it. We were doing all kinds of pilot projects to demonstrate to the income, the old money, the old capital behind this business, that they could make this transition, and those were going really amazingly well. And I had all of these plans, and I spent a ton of money and plans to spend a ton more, and really loving it. I mean, really loving it. I wasn't really sure about these people when I took the job, but they seemed to be getting out of the way and just letting me do my deal. And the guy that they had hired to be my boss seemed to be on board with everything I was doing. I thought, oh man, I was doing the best work of my life. I'm really doing the best work of my career. So I got fired. This is not news to me. This is not a new experience for me. I have a number of interesting stories to tell about doing really amazing things and either getting promoted to the stars for it or getting fired for it. And I am, lived through this story enough times that I know to be on the lookout for one or the other. That when I feel like I'm doing really good work, I'm doing the absolute best work I can do, that's when I need to be on the lookout for either, somebody is going to actually catch a clue and really do a lot to promote me, my ideas, to put my star on the ascendancy, or I'm going to get fired. And it's not that big a deal. I mean, it really isn't that big a deal to me, just because it's kind of baked in the cake. You don't get somebody like me without getting somebody like me. You don't get a whole lot of new ideas, a whole lot of really fresh thinking without getting a whole lot of thinking that makes yours look old and stale and stupid. And if you have to contend that you're right even in the evidence that you're wrong, then we're not going to mix. We're just not going to be a happy marriage. And I'm happy with that. It's not a problem. I fired a lot of people in my life, and in firing them, I've always looked for the way to help people understand why it's necessary, why trying to make this relationship work is a mistake, and why you need to go out and find a job that's looking for you, find a place in the world that's calling out for you exclusively, that's calling out for you by name. How to be a nice guy when you're firing people. But I don't hate the getting fired part. It's kind of an affirmation that any response is a good response. The only response I don't like is indifference. People applaud my work. I like that. That's okay. If people rave and criticize and rant yell and scream about my work. I kind of like that better because I don't really trust the affectionate response. I just don't trust it. Because people make affectionate responses for all kinds of reasons, only one of which is related to the quality of the work, and all I really care about is the quality of the work. So you're praising me in ways that don't mean anything to me. I know that I don't trust that praise. I just don't trust it. It's not that I don't trust you or that I don't think you're a sweet person, you're trying to do the nice thing, blah, blah, blah. You're just not speaking in a language that means anything to me. If someone is criticizing me and they're wide of the mark, at that point I'm thinking they really do see the quality and they are against it. I don't know that for sure. What I really love is people criticizing the quality for being quality. That's the stuff I can trust. How upside down my world is, how upside down my mind gets, this inverted garbage dump world that we live in, it makes idiots of us all, including me. But anyway, I got fired from this job, and I think it was supposed to be a great big crushing blow, but it wasn't, because I was hugely in demand. I didn't have any fear about being unemployed. I'd been fired before, and I'd been, hired with, massive packages and all of the crap that goes into, living in the corporate world. It didn't mean shit to me. I went home and spawned my son Cameron. It's his 23rd birthday today. And I got fired, and it gave me the time I needed to fornicate in the quantities necessary to make sure that we hit the target. And we had an egg propitiously ready to be inseminated, and I had the time to inseminate it. And that was the time I was fired. Was probably about out of work for maybe 9 calendar days, something like that. And in that time, we fornicated a lot, and Cameron was the result. And then I got the job I was fired from was my next to the last job. I got the last job I ever had. It was the best job I ever had. I really enjoyed it. I hated having jobs. I always hated having jobs. I'm so glad that I don't have to work that way now. But that was the best job I ever had, and really kind of maybe the best work influence I've ever had too. That I was working for Walter Williams. Was my boss. He was a good guy, and he took good care of me. But he had a son named Frank, and Frank was just at that age where he was trying to decide if he was going to be a decent guy or a screw up. And Walter stuck Frank with me, and I had Frank for the third shift. I would work from early morning till late at night. I would end up covering all 3 shifts. Even if I went home and slept, I was still around all the time. It was the way I work. It's the way I work still. I had Frank for the 3rd shift, and I really wanted productivity from the 3rd shift. I don't got any kind of interruptions. I don't have a lot of people in the building. I don't have any clients in the building. I don't have any salespeople in the building. I don't have anybody in the building except people who are there to do my work. And Frank, you're my guy. You're going to do my work. And I taught him how to pull maximum productivity out of the equipment that he had available to him, how to live this super productive lifestyle, this super productive work style. And I think he still works that way. I think I influenced his career forever. This is the closest I've ever come to actually being any good as a father. My son is 23 today, and my accomplishments as a father were best when they were least valuable, when he was very young, and tapered off considerably from there. I do not wish to. I was good at work. I was really good at work. I was not really good at being a father. One of the things that I aim to do better, and one of the reasons that I study everyone, is to try to understand how to do better with them, how to do a better job of holding up my end. But the difference really is understanding the difference between what I did badly and could have and should have done better, and what I was doing amazingly well. I was doing better than anybody had ever done it before. And when I get fired for that, then it's not so much fun. And yet I don't hurt, I guess. If I did something wrong and something got ruined because of it, then I really do hurt for it because it was my fault. But if I'm doing everything right and you can't stand it, or you can't see it, or whatever, it's just the wrong deal. It's the wrong machine. It's the wrong thing. It doesn't mean anything. Broken things really don't mean anything at all. It's working things that matter, and I'm mainly interested in things that are working, and of the things that aren't working that I'm interested in the ones that can be fixed. Not really interested in things that can't be fixed. This is the real advantage of being driven. This is the huge advantage. I think that the people who are most likely to be happiest most of the time are the driven, and it's not because they have so much more to be happy about. In fact, they can have more to be unhappy about. Imagine me, I have one kid at home and thinking about Swann and another, and here I am out of work. What could be more unhappy than being fired at the worst possible time? Well, I got fired at the worst possible time, Swann, my son, and got hired at the best job I ever had, and had a lifelong influence on a young man that he's not that young anymore, but for whom I had tremendous respect at the time, and I'm sure I would respect him now if I had a chance to see what he's up to. There's nothing but win here. All I can see are the wins. All I'm interested in are the wins. And so the things that other people might identify as losses, I don't even know what they are. They don't count. They just don't matter. Even if in the short run they seem to matter, even if the time that you're taking this sucker punch is, oof, you really feel that, oof, well, how long do you feel that for? And how much does it matter? And what else do you have to think about that is more productive, is more beneficial, is more likely to result in real benefit to you right now and enduringly? And concentrate on those things. So I have this mania that I make people crazy with, and that I refuse to consider outlier phenomenon. That whenever you talk about anything at all, it doesn't matter what, but as soon as you bring up anything, somebody has to bring up but what about the outlier? What about the rare exception? What about the thing that almost never happens? I don't care. I do not care. That if something comes in a bell curve distribution, I am happy to clip off at 1% either side, easy, 2% not a problem, 3% if you want it, I'm there. Give me the 94, 95% of people in the middle of that bell curve, the people who are actually normal, the ones that you can come up with an answer and essentially solve the problem with one answer, because you have taken care of everybody for whom the problem can be solved. And the people for whom the problem cannot be solved, you can worry about that. This is most of medicine, lots of psychology, whole branches of the so-called healing professions devoted to palliating the pain of outliers, palliating pains that can never be cured. I'm not interested, just not. I'm interested in the inliers, not the outliers. And this is funny from an outbound inbound point of view, because I am the most radical outlier of outliers. I am the weirdest thing in the world, dude. I am INTJ in Briggs Myers. That accounts for 2 to 3% of the population. The INTJs are outliers already. You're already dealing with outliers. These are the people who are in charge of everything, and they are the weird ones, the strange ones. But almost all INTJs are high Cs in the DIS system. They're almost all cautious in the DIS system. And I'm a D, and I'm driven, very driven, off the charts driven, extremely insanely driven. So I start off INTJ, 2 to 3% of the population. I am at most, of INTJs, at most 1 in 5 are going to be Ds. My guess would be maybe 1 in 50. I certainly don't run across people like me. And I'm different in other respects too, and so that kind of sets me apart. Even if I run into INTJ high Ds, they're not going to be very much like me, because I'm so wordy. I have this from my cautious sister. Things that you get when you're very, very young and you don't even know how they're going to work out, why they're going to matter. Ds are typically not very wordy people. I'm a very wordy D. Outlier among outliers. I am 1 in 100 at best, maybe 1 in 100 out of 100, 1 in 10,000. I don't know. Statistically, I am bizarre. Another way of looking at my style of being is in the animal ethology that you hear among the manosphere, the idea of the wolf pack ethology that people are always using, alpha, beta, omega. You do this with dog patterns. The alpha is the dog who walks first, eats first. He's dominant, and he knows he's dominant. All the other dogs know he's dominant, and they yield to him. He's not domineering. But he walks first, he eats first, anything that he wants first, he gets first. Beta dogs are the here supporters of the alpha dog. The omega is just last. He's the untouchable, but he's really not untouchable because there is no untouchable in a dog pack. But the omega walks last and eats last. If anything is going to happen last, if anybody's going to get hind tit, it's going to be the omega. But he's still a member of the pack. He's still a member of the family. And in this way, other mammals are very different from us, that we can be so cruel toward the untouchable that there's nothing left, that there is no relationship left. There's nothing but scorn. There's nothing but scorn or at best pity. But in that dog pack ethology, I am a lone wolf. Again, introvert, INTJ, introvert, high D, very doing oriented. The cautious mentality results in kind of a feeling of responsibility for other people, not so much out of respect for their humanity, but out of pity for their animality, I suppose. That to be INTJ and cautious is to have a certain collectivist bent to your mind that I really don't have. I am very much an egoist. I'm an egoist in a way that I don't think ordinary people understand, that they hear the words and they think they know what it means. They really don't know what it means. That when I say that I'm an egoist, I mean that I am only ever doing what I want to do. That's all I am ever doing is what I want to do. I'm not ever doing anything I don't want to do. I'm not ever doing something because somebody insists that I must do it. And as soon as we get to that kind of language, I'm gone. I'm not doing anything again. I'm not doing anything with you ever again. I am completely gone. I'm an egoist and I am driven, and so I break up my flight. When I'm done, I'm done. When it's over, it's over. I don't look back and I don't care because it's just a broken machine. And it's a broken machine that I'm not trying to fix. The idea of the empathy for the machine in 9 Empathies, I think, is enormously valuable. Just because it encourages you to think that way, to think about everything that you're doing as being a machine that has performance characteristics that can be optimized. And the machines that you're working on, you should be working on all the time. The title of this homily is The Affectionate Display, and I think you're wondering how the hell is this going to get to affection? Well, that's it. That's the affectionate display, is how you work on the machines that are either working, you want to work better, or that you're trying to fix. That's how you do it, is with the affectionate display. That's how a D does it. That's how I do it. And the contrary is not an aggressive display. The contrary is indifference. That affection and aggression, like I said, when I see either one inbound, I don't hate it. I don't trust the affection. Certainly not without something demonstrative to back it up, something that says, yeah, I am paying attention, I do get it, I do understand. And that's where a really intelligent question really goes miles with me, because it demonstrates that you're actually thinking about the material. But an aggressive response is not alien to me, is not objectionable to me, because it's giving me feedback, it's giving me information. And I don't need for everyone to love me or love what I'm doing. I don't need it, I don't require it, and I don't really have any use for it. I can't make any good use for it. I just need to do my work. That's all I need, is to do my work to my satisfaction. And ideally, somebody else likes it. And if they do, that's another opportunity for me to infect another brain. And that's all I'm really looking for. The fact that people are going to reject me, I accept as a given. They are going to reject me. That some people are going to adopt me, and when they do, they're going to be all excited, and it's going to be just like I was hired for a new job. And it's all going to be sweetness and light and cupcakes, and everything's going to be great until people get used to things. And then maybe they like me and maybe they don't. And maybe they stop listening and they pretend that they're still listening, and maybe they pretend to listen and think they heard what they wanted to hear and didn't hear what I really said, and maybe they really listened finally for the first time to what I said and decided they didn't like it. I can't control for that, and I honestly don't care. It doesn't make any difference to me, because wherever it was you walked out on me, that's what's going to be in your brain forever. That's the deal. I am putting a popcorn hull between your molars, jamming it in there real good, and I want you to worry it for the rest of your life. And I really don't care which popcorn hull, which 2 molars. I don't care about the content. I care about what you do about it. And if I get in your head in such a way that I'm a really good influence on you and you really change what you're doing, like Frank Williams, that really learned my way of working and perfected it. He got better at it, better than I ever was, because he was working at it. He continued to work at it. If I can get in your head that way, I am so much for it. And if I get in your head the other way, where you decide you're all pissed off at me, and not only am I wrong, that I'm not just wrong about some topical matter, I'm wrong about everything. I'm wrong forever. I'm wrong for everybody. And not only do you have to fire me, you have to slander my name every which way. You have to hide my work so that nobody can tell what it was that I did. I'm in your head anyway, and I'm in your head forever. I got what I came for. I did what I came to do. And I don't owe you any aggressive display, any aggressive response. I don't owe you any anger or rancor. To the contrary, I'm grateful to you for letting me infect your mind for as long as I could. And if you're like my sweet, wonderful, plausibly addlepated, insane wife who puts up with me full time all the time. I mean, I love her for it, but my country song for her is, "You're my heaven, I'm your hell." No, I really mean that when I write that song, but I feel that way sometimes. She was put on this earth to be my angel, and I was put on this earth to be her devil. I don't really hate it. It's kind of fun. It's kind of romantic, but I'm not sure she's getting the better end of the deal. I think maybe I'm getting the better end of the deal, but if you're around like her and you just keep coming back, then I love it, because I can infect your head again and again and again. You come around a little while and then you go away. Whether you go away happy or go away mad, I'm in your head forever, and that's all I really want. That's the affectionate display for me. The affectionate display for me is kind of rapine. I'm looking to take a seed of mine and plant it in your brain any way I can get it in there. Just let it germinate, let it grow, see what happens. But the answer to the question, why do I study everyone I meet? Why do I try to understand everyone's interior? Because I keep getting blindsided. I keep getting fired for doing my absolute best work, and I can't say I don't understand, but I want to understand better. And in order to understand people better, I study them. In order to understand everyone I meet, everyone I'm actively engaged with, I study them. I don't study them to use what I learn against them. To the contrary, I study them in order to learn how to make my own choices better, wiser, healthier choices. I like to think that I'm a healthy choice for you, but ultimately that's for you to decide. You're with me now. Will you be with me a month from now? Will you be with me a year from now? It's yours to decide, and my promise to you is I'll be with you forever anyway. My name is Greg Swann. This is the Church of Splendor, where we always make the affectionate display. And I hope to make an affectionate display for you next week. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Bye-bye.